This is Tomas Ramirez from Positive Gains Training, and we're here to bring you a new episode on our podcast, Impact Beyond the Weights. I'm very humbled and very honored to serve Inez, who's going to be my first guest on this podcast. She's going to share her story, her testimony on just training in general and what brought her here in the first place. So, Inez, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. We're both as nervous as we can be, as we're winging this for the first time. So thank you for
Yes.
coming on here. Stepping out of your comfort zone, it really is an honor because I already asked other people and they're like, no, I can't do that. So thank you so much, Inez.
You're very welcome.
I really appreciate you. All right, so enough about me. This is all about you. Again, as we said, you can share as much or as little as you like, whatever you feel comfortable with. Inez, my first question for you is what motivated you or inspired you to start training?
Well, I call it, I've been on this particular fitness roller coaster journey since 2002. I always start, I always stop, I always start, I always stop.
Mm.
I'll say this, like from the time I began, I kind of fell in love with working out. I call it like a love-hate relationship. I love the way that it makes me feel, especially afterwards, the sense of accomplishment. But as I stated, I've always been on this roller coaster, and I would say I've really kind of pretty much slowed down, stopped working out back in 2018 when my job became that much more demanding. And then fast forward to 2020, when the pandemic hit, it was really like downhill from there. And I won't blame it on the pandemic. You know, I am responsible for myself, right? But I do not recall feeling as bad as I ever felt during the pandemic. So my body just started to feel a whole lot different, started to get aches that I never had before.
Mm.
And then finally made a decision this year that I had to really start doing something different. So that's what led me to seek you out and train.
Gotcha. So what motivated you? I guess you said 2002 was like your start into fitness and you just roller coastered since. Like, what was your motivation back then? I'm just curious personally.
As anybody wanting to look better and feel
Yeah.
better. I've never, been on the skinny side, which is fine, but just wanted to feel healthier and lose weight. I'm 49 years old, so back then I was in my late 20s, and my 20s was honestly probably my biggest and unhealthiest I've ever been. And since working out after that, I've started to, do better and feel better. So it's just, wanting to feel better, honestly, and lose weight for sure.
For sure. For sure. You said that in 2018, your job started to take a toll, if you will, or become more demanding. Like, I don't want to say like, what do you do, but like, can you describe like your job and like the stress and like the
Mhm.
motion or the lack of movement that you do?
Yeah. So I've been blessed to work for the same company for almost 25 years. And I'm in the customer service industry for a utility. And I love what I do. And I would say since like 2014, I've been moving around a lot, being able to build out my skill set, but with more uh, in doing that I achieve, have more responsibilities,
Yeah,
right? So with more responsibilities, again, I really like what I do, but it's very demanding. And I just let work kind of take over my life, and gave my all to work instead of concentrating on myself.
for sure. For sure. So do you have a sedentary job or do you have a more active job?
Sedentary. So since the pandemic, well, it's sedentary. I sit down at a desk. I'm in meetings all the time. Prior to the pandemic, where I work is a large campus, and going from meeting to meeting, I was able to get in at least a lot of steps throughout the day, averaging about
Right.
8,000 or so. But since the pandemic, we started working from home, which is great. However, my daily average steps definitely took a dive. So doing nothing, which I was doing nothing and sitting at my desk all day, I would easily only average about 2,500 steps a day.
For sure. And that's a huge thing. That is one of the biggest things that you and I worked on and we talked about early in your training is just moving. Like I feel like that's the biggest component that people misconstrue is that they think they need to be in the gym for 2, 3 hours, but in all reality, you just need to be moving consistently throughout the rest of your day. And due to COVID, almost everybody was in your shoes and still
Yeah.
in your shoes where they're sedentary, working from home. Steps went from maybe 5,000 to 1,200,
Yeah.
something super, super low. And then we're still eating the same foods. We're not really changing our diet, how our lifestyle is changing.
Yeah.
So a lot of people in your shoes. So 2018 started to get more demanding in your job. You kind of sound like you stopped working out or caring so much about your fitness. 2020 comes and then COVID just settles everybody down. Can't even go outside.
Mhm.
Um, so you contacted me in 2022, right? How did you find our business and what made you finally reach out?
I found you on social media. I can't
Okay.
exactly remember who or how, but a lot of your family members I actually grew up with and we're
Okay.
friends on Facebook. So I know that's how I found you. And I was already in, you and I signed up with you in July. I started to do things like in March and just started thinking more about what I could do. So, I found you in July, but I was looking for something that was like convenient, close, um and something that would motivate me and like give me the accountability. I also wanted to start working out in the morning. That was important to me. I'm not a morning person, none whatsoever, but I knew that getting the workouts done in the morning and getting it out of the way would be the best for me, because me depending on myself to be committed to working out after work was not going to happen. I knew I
Right.
would fall off and not do as well.
For sure, for sure. So how's that going now? Like how's the morning workout since you're not a morning person? How's that going for you now?
It's awesome. I love it. I love it. I will say I still don't get up by myself in the morning and work out on days I'm not scheduled with you, but on days I'm scheduled with you, I have made it each and every workout. I love it. My clock is also changing, which is a good thing because again, was historically not a morning person, but getting up earlier, working out with you has kind of switched my clock. So I'm going to bed earlier and things like that. So it's going really good.
For sure, for sure. Very proud of you. Let's talk about your sleep for a second. That was one of the biggest things that we had to nail, and I still don't know if we even have it down pat, but would you say that you've gotten better and do you feel better?
I'm getting better. I feel like my clock is changing. I'm listening to my body more. Um,
Hmm.
I feel like over the last couple weeks, I was kind of dragging, and the common denominator was I wasn't getting enough sleep. I was only getting like between four
Yeah.
and 4.5 hours of sleep. And on those nights when I was only getting that much sleep, I could definitely feel the difference the next day.
Hmm.
Coincidentally, like this past week, I've been intentionally like, I have to go to bed. I have to go to sleep. I don't want to feel tired tomorrow. And the last 3 days in a row, I've actually achieved 7 hours of sleep. So I feel great.
Nice. Listen, this is a huge milestone for Inez because she'd be going to bed super late, waking up super early, and it just obviously, like she said, it affects her energy levels. And if it affects your energy levels, you're not as productive. You're not as productive. You're not going to see the results you want because you just don't have the energy for it.
Yeah.
So it's just a
I was,
huge trickle down snowball effect.
I was gonna say
So
too, just feeling foggy, cloudy, just not being able to think as well too without the right
yeah,
sleep. Yeah.
for sure, the brain fog. So it's just prioritizing. It's not a selfish thing to prioritize yourself because the best version of you can give to others or your work. If you're not prioritizing yourself or taking care of you, then you have nothing to give because you have nothing to offer. You're just that tired, exhausted.
Yeah.
So it's a big thing. Okay, so you reached out to us in 2022. What was the orientation slash onboarding process like for you? Like, how was you feeling? How was like your description or perspective of like how I treated you, I guess, in that process?
It was honestly amazing. I tell my friends this story often. I sought you out. I called you or I called, text you. I know we ended up texting because you were on vacation on your honeymoon.
Yeah,
And
I sure was. Uh-huh.
and I asked to come visit your gym and you said, well, let's do an orientation first. And so we did that. And I thought the orientation was great. I loved that you took the time to get to know me and understand me. The orientation was about an hour, as I recall. So
Yeah,
definitely took the time to get to know me as far as what I was looking to achieve and my history and so forth. So that was great. And then when I came in, that went really well as well. It was awesome.
did you feel nervous?
Coming in,
Yeah. Like the
Um,
whole thing, like, did you feel nervous, like, about your decision? Like, did you really have second doubts about, like, continue pursuing this? Because, we all get fired up and motivated for some new change. And then, like, we're in the process of it, like, do I really want to do this?
I wasn't nervous. I won't say I
Hmm.
was nervous. I have, like I said, been working out for a while, so I was looking forward to the change and the energy. I guess I would say I was more curious than anything because we hadn't
Okay.
spoke about cost yet, but
Oh,
but
for
yeah.
sure. For sure.
But I was
For sure.
ready. I was ready, and I knew I was looking for something to make me continue, right? I knew I
Yeah.
needed help for sure. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. So bringing up the cost, that's my next question. And I'll never forget this about you. He was like, wow, that was more than I expected. And then I remember because one of the things that you did tell me was that you are a start and stopper type of person.
Mhm.
And I told you, I was like, in order to kind of break that cycle or that habit, because that's necessarily what it is the habit that we formed that I have even personally myself. And the only way to beat that is to make a commitment to something. And I told you, can you commit to a whole year? And then I asked you, could we make a deal? And I told you the deal, and your eyes is like, what? Like, I was not expecting that. That's really what you said. I was not expecting that much. But then you end up signing and doing it. Like, I guess what was that determining factor for you to make that commitment for one at the price that I told you?
Yeah. So it's another story that I tell everybody. Because I was
Okay.
not expecting that. And I remember my question was, well, what do I get for that? And I remember
Right.
you said, I think training, nutrition, a couple of other things, but then you end it with accountability. And the accountability is
Yeah.
what's me because that's what I was
Okay.
looking for. That's honestly what I was looking for. Something to hold me accountable. I knew if I was paying that much, I would show up, and I just needed the accountability and something to get me up in the morning to make sure I stayed consistent.
For sure. I like to throw in there also that I'm not the most expensive client or trainer, but I'm also not the least expensive trainer either. Um, but I think that is huge. I feel like, making an investment, there has to be what we call skin in the game. Like if I was dirt cheap, you're like, oh, I can just miss a couple sessions because I'm barely paying anything. But when you're paying for something, you're really investing in something.
Yeah.
That's how I like to think of it. It's an investment. You're investing in yourself, then you're going to be more committed to it. So.
Yeah.
I was always just been curious. I was thinking about that when I was generating these questions. I was like, what really did make her sign? Because one whole year for one, that's a huge
It is.
commitment. And that's why I'm saying I'm so grateful, so humble to serve you. And all the other clients, they're awesome too, because most of my clients been with me for years plus. Some of them been with me since 2020. So it's just so awesome to serve you guys. But I was just curious for you personally, because again, I'll never forget your reaction. You're like, that was much more than I thought. I was like, okay.
Yeah, it was definitely the accountability for sure.
For sure. So going into that, like, how has your training been? You're in month 9 now. Like, walk us through like what you've learned, like what you would like to learn more of, possibly like a review, I guess, of like you're just training so far.
Um, so things are going great. I love it. I would say that I've learned a lot. As I've mentioned, I've been on this journey for a while, but I really have learned a whole lot more in working out with you and training with you.
Hmm.
Learning different things about foods, for example, like I mean, I always heard, card size for meat, etc., but I really wasn't very certain, I guess, about the right food portion. So especially as it relates to like fruits and vegetables. So
Right.
now I know the right portion for fruit, and it's okay to eat the fruit. It's okay to have carbs. I'm not as afraid of carbs. I understand. I always knew that I needed carbs, but
Mm.
carbs gets a bad rap, right? So
Can I pause you right there for a
yeah.
second? That is a huge thing. That is a huge misconception that's just because of the diet that everybody's being pushed to, the low carb,
Mhm.
the keto diet. And I actually just got done doing an orientation before I called you right now. And that's what this lady's on, is that she's on a low carb diet. She told me last year she went on a she called it strict keto. It's like she was like super on it. And then she realized that it wasn't sustainable. Now she's on a more of a low carb. And I was thinking about you the whole entire time. I was like, Inez does low carb, but she does carb cycling, like, and she's seeing the results. I mean, she's lost almost 20 pounds in 9 months. So I mean, it's awesome, and I'm glad you pointed that out because it's just such a common misconception that carbs make you fat. I just feel like it's just the portioning and the type of carbs that people are eating.
Yeah, it's the portioning, and you could exactly. It's the portions. You don't have to be afraid. The other thing that I've learned is, uh, it's not a eating healthy is not a diet,
Yeah.
and I don't mean to. I'm not going to go into it's the lifestyle thing. It's eating healthy is eating clean, and eating clean is actually very good food,
Yeah,
food that
for
you
sure.
like and can enjoy. So
What's
that's
your favorite recipe so far?
exactly.
What's your favorite recipe? I mean, you made that. What was that thing with the eggs that you made the other day? It looked amazing.
A quiche. It was a
A
breakfast quiche.
quiche.
Yeah, a
Yes.
couple people have asked me for the recipe, and to be honest, I haven't posted it because it was kind of my own recipe that I stole
Okay.
and made it my own. But it had, fruit. It had apple in it, butternut squash. Instead of the traditional crust, I used sweet potato for the crust. So
Nice.
yeah, and that's the other thing is that I've learned is like food prepping is going to be key to your success. If you don't food prep, you're probably going to fail because you need food that's ready for it, especially if you have for somebody like me, a demanding job, and you're really
Yeah.
busy. If you don't have time to cook, you're probably going to make bad choices.
Yeah, for sure. How do you, because I have other clients like you who struggle with eating enough and then they get, discouraged, if you will. Like, how do you personally, Inez, like fit in, make time for eating despite like being such a demanding job and working from home at times and just have to constantly be on your computer, I'm sure, your phone, whatever the case may be. Like, how do you prioritize that personally?
I think I've gotten better. I didn't always prioritize it.
Hmm.
But one thing, part of our program, your program that you gave me, is you said that I make sure that I eat so much protein and so many carbs right after I work out. So I'm prepared to do that as soon as I
Yeah.
get home. And I've gotten used to doing that. So I pretty much eat breakfast, I would say within an hour after I wake up in the morning.
Okay.
And then it's food prepping. Food prepping is what helps me. So I make sure that I have salads or stuff to make salads, or I make a bunch of chicken during the week. I'm sorry, on the weekend, so that I have it for lunch during the weekend. I'm sorry, during the week,
Okay.
and I could put it in salad, or I could make a sandwich, or I could do different things with it.
For
And
sure.
then lately, I've been using a food prep service. Somebody you referred me to as well.
Shout
Um,
out to Hernan.
Hernan,
Shout out to Hernan.
So for the
Yeah.
past month and a half or so, I've been eating his meals for dinner, which helps me a lot too, because again, I have a hard time stepping away from work. And the goal is to eat by 7. And so without the food prep, that is very difficult. And so now that I have the meals ready, I can eat before 7, just heat it up.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Can we talk about your hunger level? Do you feel like you're more hungry now than like, I don't know, let's say like last year? Like, did you used to wake up feeling hungry or is that like relatively new?
That is new. I never woke up hungry. I didn't know that it was a
Yes.
good thing to wake up hungry.
Yes. In
I
a
thought it
fat
was a
loss
good
process. Yes.
I thought it was a good thing to not wake up hungry. I was like, I never wake up hungry, but now I do. I wake up hungry. So you've taught me that as well, that that's a good thing. And then I have found myself this cycle of doing the carb cycling, being more hungry in the evening,
Hmm.
not starving, but starting to feel hungry, which
Yeah.
you told me to expect that as well.
Yeah. I like that you said you're not starving, but you're feeling hungry. I feel like there's two hormones that control our appetite, if you will, the feeling of feeling hungry and the feeling of, you're full, you can stop. And those are like way out of whack just because of sugar, can play into that. And just with us making sure that your carbs are, I guess, more real, more nutrient dense and not just simple sugars like, pancakes, the syrup and, all that type of stuff. Like you're eating real food,
Mhm.
it definitely changes your hunger levels and you'll actually know when you feel hungry and when you're actually full. And
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. Whereas if you go to McDonald's and you have Coke consistently, and that's what you're feeding your body, it's like you're throwing off that I'm full, I'm not full aspect. So that's the advantage of eating real food.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely glad you said that. That yes, you do feel hungry. You won't lie about that, but you're also in like a weight slash fat loss process. So it's kind of inevitable
Yeah.
to beat that. But you're also not starving yourself because I didn't give you a restricted amount of calories. I just gave you a time frame to eat from,
Right. So actually, when
right?
I start to feel that, it's a little bit I'll say it's somewhat motivating. It's like, okay, I think I'm losing weight now.
It is. It really is, because your body's learned how to run off of its fat storages now to survive. And that's why it's important we get our protein in, because we want to make sure that our body's not using our muscles to fuel it, because we're not giving it all the nutrition that it wants, if that makes sense. So great job, Inez. Anything else you want to throw in there with your training journey?
I can't. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I'm
It's all right. It's all right. All right. So I'm gonna shout you out a little bit. So like I told you before, I took some of your statistics off of our app that we use. And so you start, well, on June 22nd in 2022, you was 186.6 pounds. As of today, with the correction of the text message that you sent me, you are 168.8, which is almost 20-pound difference in 9 months. Let's kind of talk about that for a second, because if you recall, I remember like the first 3 or 4 months, we wasn't seeing the scale move hardly at all. And it kind of got discouraging. And after that, it like started to drop pretty frequently. Like, what was your thoughts, I guess, during that process? Like, did you feel like the investment was still worth it? Did you feel like,
Oh yeah.
this
Yeah.
just wasn't working no more?
Nope. So actually, that does remind me like of what else I learned and what I would add to this journey since I've started working out with you is it's not you're not gonna there's not one thing that's gonna make you help you lose weight or meet your goals. I was working out with you consistently. I wasn't missing the workouts and those were going really great. It was all the other things that I wasn't doing or the extracurriculars that I was doing
Yeah.
that
Like
was
what? Like,
that was hindering
if you
my
don't mind
effort.
sharing.
Yeah, I have friends, I have a social life and I like to hang out. I like to have dinner and drinks with my friends, which is great, but
Mhm.
definitely have to do it in moderation or else you're just not gonna, you're not gonna hit your goals, right? So I had a
Yeah.
busy summer last summer, lots of different
Yeah.
things going on. And then in September, things did start to slow down and I made a conscious effort to just, do things differently and start to focus more on my goals. And I will say it's just a combination of all that I was doing that was helping me start to lose weight and get stronger. The working out, getting more rest, um, watching what I'm eating,
Yeah.
not as much drinking alcohol, sleeping, things of that nature. A combination of
I
everything.
I think one of the most shocking things that I told you was, all right, Inez, I don't want you to work out as much. I want you to sleep more and eat more. And you just kind of looked at me like, what? And I remember you telling me, okay, I'm gonna trust the process.
Yep.
So that's one thing I gotta shout you out for, is you really have been trusting the process. Cause I mean, just tell somebody that wants to lose weight or look a specific type of way, I need you to sleep and eat more. It seems contradictory. Like that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, yeah,
But I mean, you trusted the process, and I mean, look at where we're at now.
yeah.
So
Thank
that's
you.
awesome. And not only that, is that you had a busy summer, like you mentioned. So thank you for bringing that up, where you had something functional going on each and every weekend. And then I told you during the holiday season, it is going to be very, very hard to lose weight just because of the social aspect. I didn't restrict you. I just told you, let's just be more conscious.
Yeah,
Let's save our cheat days for like appropriate, like, all right, we're going with family this day. So let's save our cheat meals for this appropriate time,
yeah,
so, and you still maintain the weight loss throughout all of that.
yeah, yeah.
So
It's
it's just encouraging to me. Sorry, go ahead. What was you gonna
No,
say?
I was just gonna say it's very eye-opening. It's very eye-opening and it's definitely raised my level of awareness over this
Yeah.
past months for sure. Just social activities, being more conscious and dedicated. Holidays, okay. And then back to being focused. So it's just about patience. It's also about patience, right? It's not gonna happen overnight. And realistically, you don't want it to happen overnight. So you have sustainable goals or
Yeah.
yeah.
For sure. I think not only just patience, but I think that it takes being intentional. And like I said, that's why I give you guys all the praise, because you can say thank you to me and I appreciate it. It makes me feel good. But at the end of the day, I want to say thank you to you guys, because you guys are investing in your commitment. You guys are sticking to it, because I'm not at home with you right now watching you, telling you, no, Inez, put that down. Like, you're purposely being intentional on making this decision and making this investment worth it.
Yeah.
So that's why I applaud you guys. I'm just grateful to watch and just yell at you at the gym.
Well, like I
That's
said,
it.
we thank you too. It's the accountability. It's knowing that I need to log my weight and Tomas is gonna see it. He's gonna know if I messed up
That's
or
right. I am going to see it. I'm watching.
not.
So let's talk about your strength for a second. So your squat, back in June, you did a 105-pound box squat, by the way, which is different. If you don't know what a box squat is, go Google it. But your box squat was 105 pounds for 12. Yours box squatting 165 for 10. Pretty, I don't want to say pretty easily, but you're doing pretty, you know, moderation. You could probably get like 175, I'd say.
I didn't know that. I
180.
didn't know I started at 105. That's awesome.
105, yeah. Your bench press was 75 pounds for 10, and then now you're doing 90 for 7. We just did that recently, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you just started dabbling into banded pull-ups. You was using the assisted machine. Now you're doing the banded pull-ups. That was very difficult for you, but we did
That's
them.
crazy. Yeah. Thank
We
you.
did them. We did them. So just continue to keep going. It's a process. It is a journey, and I just want to encourage you with those numbers. So,
Thank you.
um, okay. So wrapping up, if you can reflect on last year, what would be your advice to somebody like you in your shoes? Like, what would you tell them? Or, maybe they're thinking about training, maybe not even with me, but just in general. Like, what would you tell them if they're having doubts or fears or whatever the case may be, reflecting on like where you was last year before training?
I guess I would tell somebody to make themselves a priority, and it's not always gonna be easy, but you'll start to feel better, and it's worth it. It's worth it. Once you get into the swing of things and you notice the differences in how you're feeling, you want to continue to feel that way and go down that route for sure.
For sure. For sure. Okay. Any final thoughts? No? Okay. So like I said, I want to do a this or that just for people to just, I guess, build more rapport with you. And I think it's pretty cool because I get to know you a little bit more too. So this or that, I'm gonna give you two different options and you tell me which one you would rather do or have. Okay. First one, weight training or cardio.
Say that again.
Would you rather do weight training or cardio?
Oh my gosh. Weight training. Weight training.
Yeah,
Yep.
weight training. Okay. Would you rather be strong or be super lean?
Strong.
Strong. Let's go. Go ahead and flex, Inez. um, would you, since we've been working on those arms, would you rather do deadlifts or squat?
Deadlifts.
Oh,
Deadlifts.
really?
Yep.
Okay. All right, this is a good one. Would you rather do burpees or run/sprint?
Oh God, burpees. I hate running.
Okay. Would you rather do morning workouts or workout later on in the day?
Morning. Morning is where it's at for sure.
Morning's where it's at. Would you rather have a low carb day or a high carb day?
I like the balance. The high carb day is good though. It definitely throws, it's like your kind of like your fun day. Like, okay, I can have something extra. Yeah.
Right.
Because
Okay, so she's
you can meet
indecisive.
those macros quickly on the low carb days.
Oh, for sure, for sure, for sure. Okay, rice or pasta?
Rice. Rice all
Rice all day.
person. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I already know this question, but just for the sake of this video, sweet or savory?
Savory.
Yeah, I thought this one was funny. Milkshake or protein shake?
Protein shake.
You're just saying that because I'm watching.
No, no.
I'd go with milkshake, especially the one I had the other day, but it was strawberry and it was
I told you
amazing.
I'm savory. Now you ask me if I want some
That-
pizza. We're good.
Okay. Last one. Teach a class or do this podcast again.
This was fun. I think you know what I don't know. Do the podcast again.
Do the podcast again. All right, Inez. Well, I have no further questions for you. It's been a joy talking to you. Again, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for your commitment. It does not go unnoticed. I am blessed to serve you, and I'm so grateful for your results. And I'm just blessed to just be able to do this. So thank you so much, Inez.
Thank you. Thank you for all your help.
Hope, of course, hope you have a great rest of your day. Enjoy this Michigan winter with a crazy power outage. Do you have power, by the way?
I do. I did not lose power, luckily.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Thank God. All right, Inez. Well, I'll talk to you later. I will see you on Monday.
Okay. I'll see you Monday.
All right. Thank you.